Gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Quigley, is recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
I have an amendment at the desk. I ask that the reading be dispensed with.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
Mr. Chairman, Alcatraz Prison was officially closed in March of 1963. It was not closed, as some suspect, due to repeated escape attempts. Rather, the sheer amount of money then that it took to keep the prison open made it impossible to justify its operation. In 1959, the cost to house one prisoner at Alcatraz was over 3 times higher than for a comparable prison in Atlanta. At its closing, there was an estimated $3 to $5 million in deferred maintenance costs. In 1981, 20 years later, President Reagan considered reopening Alcatraz, but ultimately decided against it as his administration realized it lacked any adequate facilities for housing inmates and was much more valuable as a national park. Alcatraz Island generates approximately $60 million annually as it receives over 1 million visitors from across the world. Hugh Hurwitz, who served as acting director of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, said he thought the idea of reopening Alcatraz was a joke. Yet, the president's border czar has said that Alcatraz could be an option for addressing our border crisis. My friends on the other side of the aisle included a provision in this bill which would prohibit the National Park Service from using any federal funds to provide housing for undocumented immigrants. And I agree. We should not waste taxpayer dollars on reopening Alcatraz for use as a detention center or a prison. My amendment would prevent the transfer of Alcatraz from the National Park Service and any funding to make it operational as a detention facility either. It is estimated right now that cost, put it in working order, is around $2 billion, and that it would cost around $500 a day to incorporate that cost to keep an inmate there. It would be cheaper to keep them at the Ritz, which is also a bad idea, and I encourage you to support this amendment.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Idaho, Mr. Simpson, is recognized to respond to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know that I disagree with anything that the gentleman from Illinois said. What I do know is this, though, is the previous administration created a crisis at our border. A crisis. This administration is trying to clean it up. And I don't want to take any option off the table. It costs $500 today to hold them there. I don't know. That's cheaper than the motels are putting them in New York. So why would you want to limit? I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I really don't. But I'm not willing to take any option off the table. It may be that you look at it and go, man, this is just crazy. It might be. I don't know. So I would oppose this amendment and encourage my colleagues not to take options off the table of cleaning up the crisis that's been created by the previous administration. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank the gentleman. The gentlelady from Maine is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank the gentleman from Illinois for his excellent amendment, and I do appreciate the chair's thought that maybe turning Alcatraz back into a prison is a dumb idea. So I appreciate your acknowledgement of that. But I do have to say that anytime one of this administration's dumb ideas comes up, generally the defense of it from the other side is, oh, there's been a crisis at the border, and we're just going to have to do this because you guys did that. So I'm not going to debate the crisis at the border. That's not the subcommittee we're on today. But I do want to clarify, the president's plan is not to turn this into a border detention center. The president's plan is to turn this back into a prison, like a real prison that you go to when you break the law. You break into someone's house or you commit a murder. This is yet another prison. So on the face of it, I wish that we could just all say, this is just stupid. We're the Appropriations Committee. This would cost $2 billion. This prison was closed in 1963. At the time when this prison was still operating, it required, where did I see that? Something like 1 million gallons of water had to be transported out to this island just to maintain the prisoners. Yeah, 1 million gallons of water per week had to be shipped to the prison. So that's just one of the many costs of operating a prison like this. It's deeply impractical. It's now best used as a national park. I think it must be a lot of fun to go visit there and see what it looked like, to see this prison on an island and to see the celebrated Alcatraz that no one could ever escape from, allegedly. And it belongs in the National Park Service. $2 billion. This is the administration that has talked us to death over fiscal responsibility, about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. How could you not say that was going to be waste, fraud, and abuse? And just to put it into context, $2 billion is exactly what the administration put into their allocation for the national parks. So they're willing to spend as much on converting this back to the prison as they do on all of our national parks. So if we're going to free up this kind of money, could we just put it into the national parks? I think they could greatly benefit from that, particularly after this bill that we're debating today cut the National Park Service by $213 million, that the Big Ugly bill rescinded $267 million per park staffing, and that we haven't approved the Great American Outdoors Act, so we don't have that long-term investment in capital needs in our parks. All of you either represent a national park, care about a national park, and know that every one of them has great needs. That the staffing has already been cut, and there's not enough staffing this summer to meet the need of all the visitors who want to visit our parks. So could we just go back to saying, this is a dumb idea, this is a misuse of $2 billion. We want to be the Appropriations Committee that talks about waste, fraud, and abuse, that only applauds and allows for good ideas, and we want to support this amendment that removes the possibility of turning Alcatraz back into a prison. So I encourage you all to support Mr. Quigley's amendment, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. Are there other members wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute to close.
Mr. Chairman, I suspect that someone tested the word Alcatraz and it came back as badass, right? And we want to get tough on crime. I get it. So we're going to call what we do in Florida Alcatraz, or anything else that sounds tough, Alcatraz. But that doesn't mean using the real Alcatraz when it didn't make sense when John F. Kennedy was president to do it again. There are other maximum security prisons. It would be cheaper to build a new one any place in the United States rather than to reopen Alcatraz. The extraordinary cost of its rehabilitation and the ongoing cost of having a prison on an island. So I respectfully ask for your support on this amendment.
Thank the gentleman. The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Illinois. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Such enthusiasm on both sides. Opinion of the chair, the noes have it. And the amendment is not agreed to.